Thank you for watching this video by Christine Pilkinton Studio of a pastel portrait of this precious little girl named Noelle. I am working on a masonite board coated with Zinsser primer and marble dust, a mixture of 50% of each approximately. I am using new pastels, which are hard pastel over a charcoal sketch. I start working looking for the darkest darks as a rule of thumb and moving gradually to mid-tones. I work in a mosaical fashion, putting in blocks of color as I see them. Sometimes I use this blending tool by the company SOFFT. It's great to use with charcoal and pastel. I sometimes bump the saturation up a little bit on my image using Photoshop, just to see any subtle colors that might not be visible. Oftentimes I'm using photos that clients will send me and my lighting is not ideal. This one has pretty good light, one source lighting from the left side. I often use really bright colors in this early stage, as one of my first teachers encouraged us to use bright color, even referring to this stage as the burn victim stage. This way, when you add blending later on, when you find a flesh tone that will unify the face, it can withstand all the blending that happens as you start to pull these colors together. I like to get the eyes in fairly early, at least a rough draft of the eyes, so they're not just empty spaces staring back at me. I do sometimes use pastel pencils. They are hard though, so they don't operate as much like the regular pastels. I use this dark caput mortem in the corners of the mouth and for the darkest areas, always remembering that the mouth is very warm inside, no cool tones usually inside the mouth. I did put a little cool tone under the upper lip there, just where the shadow is, but I'll warm that back up with some warm red as I work on the lips and develop those further. I use the side of the pastel a lot just to cover more area. The new pastels are a little nicer for that, being a square stick, and the broken pieces work just fine. People are upset when they get their beautiful new set and find that some of the sticks are already broken, but I find that they work better once they're broken. When we're thinking of mass instead of contour lines, it's just easier to use the side of the pastel instead of the point. I have trouble finding enough darks in the pastel sets usually. So I go to the pastel aisle at the art store and try to find some of the nicest darks I can find and keep those on hand in the new pastels. Then moving gradually, I'll be going to the middle to soft pastels so that I don't fill the tooth of the board up quite so quickly. I try to work around the painting, moving a lot, not staying in one area too long. If I have a color in my hand, I try to see where else I can place that color while I have it in my hand. One of the things that seems to take so long with pastels is finding the right color. Once I've found a color that works for a portrait, I will pull it out of the box and put it on a paper towel or in a separate box. That way, I have all the colors for a particular pastel I'm working on in one place, and it just cuts down on the time I spend looking for the right color. I end up with anywhere from 30 to 50 colors in most pastel portraits. I try to have as many out at the beginning of the portrait as I possibly can fit on my pastel tables. That way I'm not stuck with a certain color combination. I can just reach and grab for whatever I see at that time. I'm modeling around the shape of the face as I lay these strokes in. I'm thinking about the head as if it were a ball of clay, and trying to place my strokes around the contours of the face. I end up doing a lot of my strokes from left to right at an angle because I'm right-handed, but I do come back and correct those later as I start blending.